Anniversary is fast approaching, and that means it's almost halfway through the year. And we've seen some great stuff. Even just in the last month alone, we've had tons of great events where free-to-play players have been able to get tons and tons of rewards, and especially mysterious artifacts. So DH Games are definitely doing something right when it comes to making changes to the game. However, there are still a few things that I wish DH Games would integrate to alter how the game works, or at least how we approach it. So today's video is going to be me discussing the top 3 things that I want changed to the game that would hopefully make it a better experience for everybody. And as you can tell by the thumbnail, some of my ideas are a little bit potentially drastic. One thing I would love for free-to-play players is to be able to have the luxury that I have right now. If you take a look at my resource bag, I've got a lot of crap just sitting around. Mainly things like Master's Toolboxes that I get just as a byproduct of completing big events by spending money. Now, this is something that a lot of free-to-play players don't have access to and often feel like they don't have enough of. Master's Toolboxes are really hard to get your hands on, so big, key, high-end resources like that need to be given to free-to-play players a lot more to stop them getting hard capped in things like the Celestial Island. As well, Starspawn cores is another one. Yes, they are occasionally accessible during big events, but the only other event you can pick them up reliably is Campaign Loot Drop. And one huge problem with that is that, as you'll see next week, Campaign Loot Drop places artifacts and potentially even artifact chests against Starspawn cores, and the value of mysterious artifacts is so high that it's hard to justify going for Starspawn cores when, of course, grabbing artifacts is a huge reward. And there's a limit to just how many universal crystals players can get their hands on. Universal crystals are used in the Campaign Loot Drop event to get the high-end rewards without having to spend any money. Now, these are given to you monthly for completing monthly events, and they are a very, very good resource for choosing what progress you want to make. But when you're given the option of an artifact against Starspawn cores, it is difficult to justify going for Starspawn cores. So if I was DH Games, one thing I would integrate in future events, and ideally maybe into monthly events themselves, is a way for people to get their hands on Master's Toolboxes and Starspawn cores without it conflicting with other resources and other key items like artifacts that people want to get their hands on. Another key difference I would make is I would rebalance the chapter mission. When you start the game, you are basically handheld through a tutorial mode that takes you from nowhere to an E3, and during that time you get given 5 copies of Garuda and all the food you need to make that Garuda 10-star. Now, on the face value of that, it makes a lot of people suggest Garuda is a good first E5 because of how accessible she is. However, I don't like the way it pigeonholes you into building a Garuda. It's no secret that I think Garuda is a terrible hero, and the only reason I would ever recommend you build her is because you're given such an abundance of copies that generally she is just the most effective and easiest to build E5 that you can get, because it doesn't require you to bend over backwards and open chests in a suboptimal way to go for someone such as Eloise or Penny or Ithaca. What I would change to the chapter mission that I think would be a really, really healthy adjustment is a choice. When it opens up and you start getting given rewards, you'll notice all of them are based around the Forest faction. Well, what if you could choose the faction or class you wanted to go with? Garuda is a Forest warrior. Well, what if we went with a hero in a different class from a different faction as a potential other choice? Let's say Assassin and Shadow, maybe you could choose Ithaca, and maybe you could go with Mage and Abyss, and choose Delacium, and Ranger and Fortress, and choose Penny. Suddenly, you're giving new players a lot of autonomy in their early game progress without breaking the game. I'm not suggesting for a moment that you start handing out Eloise copies or Holmes Young copies right at the start of the game, but choosing heroes that are impactful as a first E5 that aren't game-breakingly powerful, such as Ithaca, Delacium, or Penny, you're adding a lot more choice to an early player's decision-making, which means they have a lot more freedom with where to go in the future. Oftentimes, people don't like going down the warrior faction, or can often make the mistake of going and building Garuda as a warrior and then building other warriors because that's the only guild tech they've got. If you give people the choice, they can then make some more decisions for themselves and actually plan where the progress of their account is going to go. I think it would be pretty cool to build Delacium as a first E5 and then integrate that in, or maybe Ithaca and then move towards Eloise because Ithaca is a tenant for Eloise. By giving people the choice and the freedom, it actually creates a much more fun experience. And I don't know why DH Games haven't done this before. We've seen it with packages that they released, which are like $30, I think, and they give you everything you need to build a 10-star hero, and you get to choose. Last time, I think it was like Horus, Cthulhu, Penny, it might have been Tix, there was a Garuda in there. You basically pick a hero, you get artifacts. Like, it's a thing they've done. So I don't know why they don't do it with Chapter Mission, because basically being forced to build a Garuda, let's be honest, it's boring because it's been like that now for a year, and it sucks. Like, Garuda is not a strong hero. So by changing and remodeling the way the Chapter Mission works, I think it would be a really cool change to the game. So DH Games, if you're watching this, maybe consider doing that, because it would obviously improve a lot of people's gaming experiences and make starting a new account a more refreshing experience. Think about it. And now the final thing, and I think this is the reason you clicked on this video, I would nerf Eloise. And I know that's horrible, I know it's shocking, and I know instantly you've jumped into the comments section to think, what the heck is MK on about? Well, there's 4 ways to nerf a hero, right? There's hard nerfing, and there's soft nerfing, and there's direct nerfing and indirect nerfing. I am not suggesting we do a hard direct nerf to Eloise. That would be to, like, change her skills or something. That would be terrible. If you take Eloise and just make her worse, then you're going to remove a huge boon to early players, because I'm not suggesting for a minute that Eloise is busted. My problem with Eloise is that whenever I'm doing account reviews or I'm helping people with what direction to go with their account, I always gravitate towards building Eloise and then going with her classic tenants, which are Tix, Carry, and Ithaca, because it just works so well. Eloise is the only hero in the game who is literally covered by their tenants when it comes to her weaknesses, and can offer you a way of completing pretty much every single game mode whilst reliably clearing her Seal Land well into deeper tiers, like Seal Land 23, right? It's really reliable. And then when you look at the heroes that she's got as tenants, Tix is doing your Aspen Dungeon, Ithaca is doing your Broken Spaces, Carry is removing the weaknesses of Eloise by stealing energy from problematic opponents such as Garuda. It just results in a really, really good core where the tenants play into the main hero, and the main hero is just so damned good that it just seems so intuitive to build an Eloise with the right team as your direction on a new account. But that's boring. Telling every single player to do exactly the same strategy because it is just fundamentally the best early game strategy sucks. And it needs to be nerfed in some way. It needs to not be the no-brain response to how to play the game. There needs to be more choice. Like I did with my rebalancing of the chapter mission suggestion earlier, I want to see people to be able to make more intuitive decision-making and more freedom and autonomy given to players to actually make choices in the game. Being forced to build an Eloise because it's the best strategy because you read it online kind of sucks after a while, because everybody having the exact same account is a big snooze fest. It just stops being fun. So how would I nerf Eloise? Well, I've already said a hard direct nerf of just changing her skills is bad. So what's a hard indirect nerf? Well, it would be to hit something that would hurt Eloise without touching Eloise. So a suggestion for this would be to change the control immunity given by an Ignis, for example. If you don't know, people are using 9-star Ignises with Eloises because when the Ignis dies, it gives Eloise 100% control immunity. And when she is CC'd, or like petrified, stunned, whatever, Eloise doesn't get her counterattack. So giving her 100% control immunity means she's able to function at her best. Well, if you nerfed that ability on an Ignis, you would then be indirectly nerfing Eloise. Is that a good idea? No, that's a terrible idea, because Ignis is really, really good, and the fact that she gives that 100% control immunity makes her a fun and creative hero for solving problems in the game. So I wouldn't want to nerf Ignis. Well, what's another option? We've seen before that heroes like Mickey, if you remember back in the olden days, Mickey used to be insane because dodge used to be block. Like, block never existed. It was dodge. And when they changed dodge to block, it just totally nerfed any good dodge hero like Mickey, because taking less damage but still getting hit was nowhere near as good as dodge, because dodge didn't count as an attack, so you didn't gain energy from the attack like you do with just like the 50 energy you get from a basic, so that didn't happen, and you didn't take any damage. It was 100% damage negation and energy steal in one ability. It was just stupidly good. So yeah, you can nerf a game mechanic. Now, but what would you nerf for an Ignis? Damage reduction? Block? Would we nerf healing? I don't know. And I don't think there's a good nerf that you can do to a game mechanic without indirectly hitting everybody else. So I think a hard indirect nerf is again, off the table. So we can't alter an Eloise in that way. Well, what's a softer nerf? What's a direct nerf to Eloise that's soft? Not a hard one, like changing her skills. What can we do that's a soft nerf? Well, I think one option, and I don't like it, but it's definitely an option, is to change her tenants. Because one thing that makes Eloise so good is her tenants cover all of the ground that she is struggling with. Carries, counter Garudas, Tixes, do Aspen Dungeon, Ithaca is just a very reliable Broken Spaces hero. By having them as your tenants, you're allowing your Eloise to flourish, because the heroes work so well together. Also, they're all shadow and they work well in the Seal Land together. It's just a good strat. So by changing her tenants to people that are less reliable and not good is potentially a good option for nerfing her. I hate it though, because again, by doing that, you are making people think twice about building an Eloise without providing them with another solution. And I think that's where I'm going with this. I think we need more choice. So what I would do is a soft, indirect nerf to Eloise. Basically, don't touch her and don't touch the game. Don't nerf anything. But how do you nerf a hero without nerfing them? Simple. Release another hero that's as good as Eloise. Give us another option. And that's what I would love DH Games to do this year, is to release a hero that is non-transcendent, that is in the basic factions, that is as good as Eloise. And I don't want it to be more powerful. I just want it to be as good. A Fortress hero, an Abyss hero, a Forest hero, someone who can offer the survivability and versatility of an Eloise, but in a completely different faction with different tenants that complements them and works. We've already seen that they're trying to change the way Transcendence heroes work and how we approach them by releasing heroes like Freya. I mean, a lot of people are discussing whether you should go Halora or Freya because they're both really good support heroes. I'm not going to answer that question for you now because it really, really depends on your account, but you get that there are debates going on, and that's good. People arguing about what is good means that there is options. There isn't options about Eloise. We need another hero. Eloise has been out for over a year now, and no one comes close to being as versatile as Eloise. You could argue Holmes Young potentially has the same value, but he just doesn't have the versatility. He isn't able to carry quite as hard as an Eloise can. We need someone that is just next level good, like just on Eloise's level, up there, pushing, doing game modes, and actually giving Eloise a run for her money. A pseudo Transcendence hero that you can get early game, easily pick them up, build them to E5, and they're a good first E5 that you can then transition and carry for a while. You could have said Inosuke was in this situation, but then they freaking nerfed him last year when they hit shields because of the Magic Stone Sword exploit. So, annoyingly, we potentially had a hero that was that good, but now we don't. So, DH Games, I just really would love for them to do this, just to bring out a new hero this year that can do that. And actually, that brings me on to another option, another thing that I've just thought of now, like say a bonus thing to add to my list of like wishes for added things to the game. And that's to give us more selection and choice with tenants, because we have to build so many crap heroes. Just look at my account right now, right? The thing that makes Eloise good is her tenants are versatile and actually usable. I'm sat here with a freaking Gloria that I don't use, a Fiona that I don't use, an Inosuke that I don't use. Also, Sword Flash can be freaking 2.5 million power. It's nice, she's a freaking beater, she absolutely slays, but at the cost of having 3 pointless heroes I don't want to use on my account. I would love it if we could have a little more freedom. Even if it just says, like the way the Shelter does. It has to be a specific faction and a specific class. Or maybe just a specific class. Just a hero where I have a little more choice with my tenants and I can be creative. Give me creative solutions. Now, obviously, there's always going to be best options. Or maybe remove that. Like, if you don't know, like, Assassins don't give a particularly high bonus as a tenant. Maybe DH Games could actually, balance tenants a bit more and make it so that there are some choices that aren't obvious immediate picks. Like maybe all tenants could be equal. I mean, I don't know if is that a good idea? make all tenants equal? I mean, I'll let you decide that one in the comments section, but there's a suggestion. Just give us a little more license with our tenant options, because some of them are horrendous. I mean, there is still the Vesa problem where Flora is still her only tenant slot 3. Why is that the case? Vesa's been out now for nearly a year. It's stupid. Anyway, I'm digressing. Basically, that's what I would love to see. I would love to see some change to tenants. I'd love to see some better rewards for free-to-play players. I would love to see the chapter mission rebalanced. And the big thing, I want to see a hero released to the game that gives Eloise a run for her money. Let me know in the comment section if there's anything you wish was added to the game, little changes. Let's get this discussion flowing, because I think we need to have these kind of discussions so that DH Games can listen to our suggestions. And with Anniversary coming along, and other things coming out. I mean, we've just had a new Aspen Dungeon tier drop, so that's pretty fun. We're going to be testing that out later in the week. We are getting new changes. The devs are listening, so hopefully with these discussions, we can see some more changes in the future. Anyway, folks, it's been an absolute pleasure. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more discussions like this. I can't wait to read your comments. I read all of them. I just don't necessarily reply to every single one of them. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Until then, though, guys, have a great week. Happy idling.